Hello, this is the CWL Fancast, and we are back. We are back with I don't want to say highly requested co-host because that would be a lie, but she's back.
Yeah, no one wants me to be here.
We couldn't
Not
get
even
rid of
you.
her, but I'll tell you what, all jokes aside, Sophie, it is a pleasure to have you back. I am, of course, Jacob, and we are going to be talking all the words that we can about CWL's most recent event, Jailbreak, which was an absolute ball to watch. But before we get into that, Sophie, how the hell have you been? It's been a while since you've been on the podcast.
I've been good. I mean, obviously you tried to uh get rid of me after I insinuated that me and our good friend Marcus should just talk about all Japan matches on the podcast. But despite your best efforts, I am back, and I am back with some scoops as later on in today's podcast. I'm not going to give it away right now, got to get that watch time in, but later on in today's podcast, I have been able to unearth something that many wrestling historians have long considered extinct, including most biologists, giving it the autopsy of death. That, of course, being the top 5 of the Season 3 Top 50 Power Rankings that CWL never released. And
Whoa.
I have got that here for us here today, and we'll be talking about that at the end of the show.
On this very podcast?
Yes, and it. I'll admit it wasn't a solo effort, but let's not talk about that just yet. Let's focus on the CWL of the present, and let's focus on Jailbreak, which was a historic night in terms of action. I mean, I think every Vindication title changed hands that night.
Yes, it did. Every single Vindication Championship and another one also.
And the tag titles.
Yes. There was one title that remained on its champion, and that's actually, actually not quite before we start off. Let's run through the pre-show real quick. We had the Crimson Dragons, Zister Horror, and Zyro Toa as the representatives. Of course, there are 6 members of the Crimson Dragons, not counting MD, who is currently on hiatus. So, of course, whenever we say that the Crimson Dragons are in a match, it's very important that we specify which ones. And they did, of course, manage to defeat the FFF, Kaz the Mad, and Flapjack Carter.
And I heard that MD is like just out of back surgery, so it's probably not going to be terribly too soon till we see this guy. Don't expect to see him at Endgame is what we'll say. But Crimson Dragon's picking up a big win here over FFF, who we'll be talking about a little bit more later on in the show.
Yes. And the Crimson Dragons getting that huge victory over a veteran tag team of Kaz and Flapjack. And you've just got to be thinking that really at this point, sky's the limit for these guys. I mean, there's so many of them that they could really go after all the titles at the same time. Except, of course, for the women's title, as they do not currently have a female member.
That's true, which is honestly a bit of a shock to me. But again, I think we can discuss this a bit more as we have another Crimson Dragon member later on in the night. But yeah, I'm a little bit surprised we have not seen them attempt to pick up any female roster members, especially with, I mean, we seeing Church of Steel expanding out, getting Alexandra Marie, Star Gem obviously has Yui Nishimura, FFF has Rox and Valencia. I mean, there's plenty of good options to pick from, but they need to be quick with it. And speaking of Church of Steel, getting Alexandra Marie, of course, Olivia Maestral and Alexandra Marie in her corner beat Sonya Evans here, which you've got to feel those two are trying to line themselves up for a tag team title shot.
And I gotta agree with you here. And they've been pretty dominant ever since they formed together. Alexandra Marie and Olivia Mistral both now in the Church of Steel. Alexandra Marie, when she first got in the corner of Olivia Mistral, was not fully a member of the Church of Steel after their first appearance, but then pretty quickly, I think, signed on when she realized the opportunities that could be afforded to her. And getting that win over Sonya Evans, she never makes it easy, but she went down here to Olivia Mistral.
Absolutely, and Olivia, someone who, I mean, we've talked about power rankings earlier. Someone who definitely, through the Church of Steel, has upped their stock over the last year. I mean, she went all last season without picking up a win, and she's picked up many this season, and she picked up another one here on the pre-show. But maybe the biggest upset of the pre-show in many fans' eyes would be Lucas Button, big match Button, beating Jack Thunderheart, the current leader of the Crimson Dragons.
current leader of the Crimson Dragons and former Vindication heavyweight champion. That is a huge win for the recent Genesis signing. That is really big for Lucas Button, and surely, that means big things for him in the future. He and Jack Thunderheart could not quite get in the the jailbreak chamber that happened not once but twice on this show. But they did manage to get a spot, slugging it out on the pre-show, and this win could mean big things for Button.
Absolutely. I mean, he came so close, and now he picked up a win over a world champion. We've got a bunch of new champions, and we'll be sure to talk about them later. We could see him in that title hunt.
Very much, indeed. I completely agree. And that was...
Indeed.
That was calling out to a wrestling legend there. God, I miss Funaki.
Yes.
But Jack Thunderheart, not able to pick up the win here. But we had our first championship match of the night taking place after that. The first match of the main card, now moving off the pre-show. Sheila defending her openweight championship against Sarah LeBlanc. And the winner of this match, of course, is going to go on to face Holly Queen at Endgame 4 in Mexico. And Sheila just dominated Sarah LeBlanc here. Got hit with one of those knee strikes, caught in the sacrifice to the savior, but managed to shrug out of it and just decimated her with the curb stomp.
I mean, it was an interesting scenario if Sarah LeBlanc won, to be sure. I mean, openweight champ Sarah LeBlanc, and then you've got Kaylin going for the women's title at Endgame. Oh my gosh, DGC taking over. But at the end of the day, it's Sheila, and Sheila does Sheila things in this match and just steamrolls Sarah LeBlanc. Speaking of big people doing big people things, next we got a debut at Jailbreak, which was Troy Winters. Big boy.
He is a big boy, a former King of Genesis champion. Sergeant Grotto, of course, got the win, Garnet Court got the win over Sergeant Grotto, mixing everything up today. And he came out, Faith De La Rosa gave him this match. I think he had big expectations considering that he was coming off of that big win that I don't think he was expecting, much less any of us. And unfortunately, he was met with the absolute brick wall of Troy Winters this time.
Yeah, and it looks like Garnet Court fails to capitalize on yet another opportunity. Good job, kid.
But I think the headline here is, it's a bummer for Garnet Court, but the headline is, damn, Troy Winters is just a monster. He is already having his eyes set on some other big opponents, which we'll get to later. But that was really, a tremendous victory for him, and definitely a showcase for every member of the Vindication men's roster that this guy is not someone to be trifled with. He's built like a brick. I don't know if I'm allowed to. Are we allowed to swear on the podcast? Do you recall what we decided?
It's our podcast. We can do whatever the hell we want.
The man's built like a brick shithouse, and god damn it, he packs a punch. And I am really excited. I love a nice big boy tossing people around, so I'm very excited to see what he does next. But after this, his style could very much be considered conventional. But up next, we had what I guess could be considered a very unconventional match. It was an over-the-top rope match. Break it down for me here.
Well, you see in an over-top rope match, you get two guys, you put them in the ring, and you win by throwing the other dude over the top rope. Both feet gotta touch the floor. That's very important. Both feet just planted firmly. And Ricky Valentine, similar to what he did in the Battle for Supremacy, threw Carl Stone over that tippity top rope, and both of his booted-wearing feet did in fact touch the floor, Jacob, meaning Ricky Valentine won.
It was huge,
Is that good at breaking it down?
That is a fantastic. I think you've broken it down so small that I can't even see it anymore. Tremendous breakdown job there. But Carl Stone came out here looking for a big win. He didn't get the win in his first appearance on the main roster, which was, of course, at the Battle for Supremacy. And so he was looking here for this match against Ricky Valentine, challenged him to an over-the-top rope match because he was pretty furious that Valentine was the one who eliminated him. And the luchador is not yet been able to make his name on the Orange brand.
No, and we talk about Troy Winters making such a name for himself already. Carl Stone, the man who beat Troy Winters for the King of Genesis title, he's been here a month earlier, and already sort of seems to be in Troy's shadow. Like, you've got to feel that kind of sucks for Carl, but he's just not been able to capitalize on the opportunities afforded to him.
Well,
Speaking of capitalizing on opportunities, Jacob,
Speaking of
Because I've
capitalizing
got
on
to.
opportunities, indeed, I did have one more thing I wanted to say about this match, if you don't
Oh,
mind.
then please speak.
I will.
Please don't let my terrible segue stop you.
That was an excellent segue. Don't put yourself down. Ricky Valentine, I mean, he's just such a veteran pro. And Carl Stone, he did, of course, win the King of Genesis title, but he's still a relative newcomer to CWL. I think the thing here is just his choice of opponent. I mean, Ricky Valentine knows that CWL ring inside and out, and Carl Stone is just not there yet. He's going to have to either level up or pick a different opponent if he wants to start getting his name on the map. But speaking of getting their name on the map, Griteri picking up his first championship in CWL by defeating another Crimson Dragon, Max Shearman, for, of course, the aforementioned YouTube championship.
It almost seemed like you wasn't even. We've talked so much. It's been such a narrative that, oh my gosh, Criterion, Mexico, it's his country, and that is cool, but we came so very close to him not just being at Endgame at all, but he seemed to punch his ticket and get some gold for the Church of Steel. This was a good night for the Church. I mean, Olivia Maestral picked up a win, Griteri picked up a title. Isaac didn't do too much, but he tried.
He tried his damnedest, and that's all you can ask.
That's all you can ask. But Max Shearman, again, just this is his second YouTube title reign, and I don't think he's ever successfully defended the YouTube title. You might want to, stat check that for me, but, I don't know if he has across either of his two reigns.
That is true, but on the other hand, it is still pretty impressive to be able to call yourself a two-time YouTube champion. But Griteri absolutely ripped it from his, cold dead fingers here after blasting him with that dagger's end elbow to the face.
You know what's more impressive than calling yourself a two-time YouTube champion?
What?
How about calling yourself a 7-time women's champion? Can you believe it?
Can I believe it? Can I believe it? Yes. Did I want to believe it? No. I mean, it was really just impressive how. Let's remember. So up next, as you were gonna say, we had the 6-way jailbreak women's chamber for the Vindication Women's Championship. Rocks, Yui Nishimura, Danielle Wright, Black Rose, Catherine Love, and of course Valencia. All these women were duking it out to the max inside of the chamber. And let's talk about how Valencia won that championship. She was totally putting it all on the line there. She threw herself off the pods on two separate occasions.
Yeah, and don't forget, she pinned Vox to eliminate her, which not only is her pinning the Vindication Women's Champion, her beating the champ, but also that's her teammate in the Fabulous Furious Freaks. She essentially went. You've got to feel the plan backstage was, okay, those two are going to want to be the final two so that title stays in the Freaks. But she took Vox's shot of defending it and gave it all to herself. She put that team on her back. She was so confident in herself. And now, for the first time ever, she walks into Endgame as a singles champion.
Wow. I mean, that's supremely impressive. But, I mean, I agree with it. It was shocking to see her pin Rox in that way. Would you say that she kind of went into business for herself, brother dude?
Yeah, Jack, brother, homie. Yeah, but the Valencia, seriously, ignoring the Fabulous Furious Freak stuff, ignoring the, how she won it, a 7-time women's champion, and I know there's going to be people out there that say, oh, but she lost it 6 times. It's not about the fact that she wins it all. It's about consistency. Every season, she's been a champion. No, I don't think there's any other woman on the roster that could say that. That every single season they've been in this company, they've been a top champion.
Yeah.
She has been a 7-time women's champion. She's been a champion in other companies. She's proven herself. This might be a bold statement. I think she's on the same level as Kel Val in that sort of upper echelon of just greats. Because, 7 times across 4 years. That's insane.
I'll tell you what, if she holds on to that title at Endgame against Kaylin, I'll be happy to put her right alongside Kel Val in there. But until she does that, she's still going to be just a tiny rung below for me. Now, look, I agree with you that people, they like to moan about, oh, well, she did lose it 6 times. But here's the damn thing. Yeah, she lost it, but then she got up, climbed back up to the top of the mountain 6 more times after that first one. That takes guts, that takes resiliency, and that takes damn toughness. And that is exactly what she showed through every season of CWL.
And it just sort of shows as well that she isn't like a weak-willed champion. I mean,
No.
we've seen it before in CWL where people will lose a title and then they'll just completely fall off the radar. Like, it's happened before, happen again. And I mean, we've talked about Crimson Dragons all night. Damian Knight, MD's former tag partner before any of the Crimson Dragons, before season 4, once they lost the tag titles, who even remembers Damian Knight? You know what I mean? It's like
I had forgotten Damian Knight until
that
this conversation right now.
Yeah, MD had that perseverance to come back and reinvent himself and get back to the top. And some people just don't have that. But when you lose, when you become a 7-time champion, not only do you show consistency over 4 years, 4 different years of professional wrestling, but you show that you have an unbreakable will. And Valencia just, again, I think it's one of the biggest results of the night, and just for that alone. But of course, we've still got some pretty big news and results to come.
I agree. I mean, look, it was incredible. It was huge. It was really something that I enjoyed watching. Valencia putting everything on the line there. Curious decision for her to pin Rocks, but aside from that, yeah, I just totally, I back up everything you said completely. It's definitely been, it was a night of legendary, stuff that went down. And up next, we had a legendary announcement. Sergeant Grotto going face to face with now Warrant Officer Hunter, and they kind of laid all their grievances on the line, and the challenge has been made. The gauntlet has been thrown. These two are going to be going one-on-one in Endgame. Sorry, I just had to pause there for a second because I just read what the stipulation is. It's a boot camp match.
Yeah, boot camp.
What is a boot camp match?
It's boot camp.
Ah, okay.
I don't know. They'll probably get that dude in from Full Metal Jacket, and he'll like scream at them as they're fighting. That'd be awesome. Get him on commentary. Is he even still alive?
I don't know. Wouldn't that get CWL canceled? I remember him saying some pretty choice words in that movie.
Did he? I mean, but people still love that. That's like people still. I don't know. People still love the movie though.
People love the movie, but I feel like people who love the character it's like mainly boomers.
Fair enough. And I don't want to be seen as a boomer.
You're not a boomer.
I do want to see boom. Boot camp.
Boo.
Boot camp. Also,
indeed.
Did Grotto insinuate that Warrant Officer Hunter had a mistress and was cheating on his wife?
I didn't catch that. Is that what happened?
I think he insinuated that, or at least he was going to tell his wife that he did.
Oh, I remember what you're talking about now. No. So that wasn't what happened. What happened is that he basically, because he has gotten this ability, now that he can masquerade as Hunter, he was threatening that he would, create this affair and then kind of portray it as truth, because he can now do anything and he could do something and then pretend that it was Hunter that did it. That's what he was threatening.
I mean, if you're Hunter, though, I mean, you could just do it the opposite way.
You know what?
Have this.
I didn't think of that, but Sergeant Hunter, he's a good guy. He wouldn't do something like that.
I mean, he wouldn't, but like, it's the idea of like, now that he has that possibility there. I mean, he could cheat on his wife and then just be like, "Nah, Grotto did it." I'm just saying.
No, he's a good man. He has, you know what? I won't disagree with you that he has the option available to him. But if I know one thing about Sergeant Hunter, it's that he's a man who sticks with his principles and fights for what he believes in. That's 2 things, but I don't care. He's gonna go out there and he's gonna show this imposter.
Maybe we should get a drill sergeant for this podcast to yell at us whenever we mess up.
He's gonna give him what for? He's gonna give him hell. He's gonna give him everything. Quite frankly, he's gonna give him everything. Including but not limited to the kitchen sink. And he's going to win that boot camp match. That's what's going to happen.
He's going to give him the boots.
I'm going to give him the boots.
Like Dora.
Yeah, he's going to just obliterate him. And there was another person who was obliterated. And on the very next match on this card, Jay Scott was torn to shreds by Breville.
Yeah. I remember watching this match, and I was like, "Oh man!" It sort of reminded me of Battle Lines because, like, going into it's like, "Oh man, I'm so excited to see Edward Bronson just like destroy these guys." And then Brubble just goes in and says, "You know what? I'm gonna solo Jay Scott and the Nemesis World Champion by myself, and make Jay Scott pass out to the bloke breaker."
And hey, look, props to him. He got it locked on the first time. Rodrigo broke it up. And then he did not pause for a second. He just said, okay, well, screw you. I'm just going to do it again. And he
I will
choked
simply do it
that
again.
bitch out. Oh my God. It was so satisfying. And the tag titles
Bloke
are finally
broker.
off the shoulders of those assholes and onto the shoulders of some slightly different assholes.
I mean, here's the thing: double champs never last long.
Yeah.
Tommy Hazard had it for like an hour. Miles had it for a month. Flapjack Carter had it for. I think he also. How long did Flapjack Carter have it? It might have been a couple months actually. Flapjack Carter might be the longest reigning double champ in CWL history.
Well, yeah, the double champion, the Roddy Dostraps, as some people have taken to calling him, is Dostraps no more. He's just the one strap. And Jay is Jay No Straps. Hopefully he'll stay on the commentary desk where he belongs, and Roddy will do the work.
I mean, listen. One strap, two strap, can't deny. Roddy looks good with any amount of gold.
I mean, look, he's a beautiful man. No one can deny it.
I'd buy a bind just to watch him shovel hay. And speaking of barns, coming up next, we've got an announcement for a match that.
You fucking like you did it. You fucking you. I'm corpsing on the podcast. I hope you're happy.
This is why you did want me back.
It took me a second to even process what you had said, and then I could not hold it in. That was you got me. It was good shit. Chris Princess and Tommy Hazard. There's enough beef in here to have a hamburger place.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, yeah. These two hate each other. We saw Backroom Dealings also make an appearance here to sort of even the odds and keep the peace, so to speak, between Chris Princess and Tommy Hazard. And I mean, this was just a war of words, and now it seems we're getting Chris Princess versus Tommy Hazard at Endgame.
That is huge. And yeah, both these men, of course, as you mentioned, did have their own security details. Chris Princess was accompanied by Flapjack and Kaz, right?
Yeah, Flapjack and Kaz, and then Tommy
He
was apparently ready for it and brought down
Eli Evans,
Backroom
Dave
Dealings.
Graves, and I think
Golden Mask.
Golden Mess was there too. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was that was good
Kaibo
stuff.
was the only one absent.
But
yeah,
let's break down this. That is one thing. I just wanted to kind of clarify who was there, but let's get into the meat of this because this is huge. Tommy Hazard and Chris Princess are going to be going one-on-one at Endgame. Tommy Hazard's official retirement match, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he said that because he never officially had a retirement match, he never officially retired. So he's making sure he gets one more match. But I mean, here's the thing. There's a reason why he hasn't wrestled in over a year. He has not been medically cleared to do so. Like, there's a reason he was forced into somewhat retirement.
Yeah, he did have that totally messed up back. Pardon me, I just got absolutely nailed with the case of the hiccups. But we have got that's a huge risk for him. He wants to wipe that smirk off of Chris Princess's face, which is very difficult to do. Because the man's a menace. But it's going to be difficult considering, everyone knows about this weakness. He's one bump away from being paralyzed. So Chris Princess knows that walking into this match, and you got to think that Tommy Hazard is going to be doing whatever he can to keep Chris Princess away from his back in this match.
Well, also, one thing you have to keep in mind, Tommy Hazard's best shot is the bittersweet goodbye. That unprettier. That requires him to land on his back.
Yeah.
Go even further. The Desolation Sleeper. It's a cutter into a Dragon Sleeper. A cutter requires you to land on your back. I don't know if Tommy Hazard has thought this through as to how he's going to beat Chris Princess at a wrestling match.
Maybe he's gonna, I don't know, come up with a new move.
I mean, maybe he's been in the lab, maybe he's been in the gym, working on stuff. But
Been in the lab cooking up, mixing formulas, mixing some like Macho Madness juice with a little bit of the Ultimate Warrior formula or something.
yeah, I mean, he's known for going for elbow drops. He often misses, but it broke his elbow once. But he could do that.
That was Look, it's definitely a very risky situation. I agree with you that maybe Tommy Hazard hasn't thought it through, but I'm sure we'll get a little bit more light shed on the subject because these men, I mean, there's just a lot of darkness going on between the two of them. And speaking of darkness, our new Vindication heavyweight champion is none other than William Black. This was a hell of a chamber match. We had Pistolero defending his title against Alex Graves, Isaac, Jasper Starr from the Crimson Dragons, Harris, and, of course, our eventual winner, William Black.
I just want to say shouts out to my boys, Harris, former podcast guest, and big man on campus, Jasper Starr. Was praying for you. Didn't work out. You should be in the Will title match at Endgame instead of William Black. He's a loser. Anyway, this was an awesome match. So I saw people saying these William Black of season 2 showed up here tonight. The last season and a half or so for William Black hasn't necessarily been the best, to put it lightly.
I agree, but I gotta say, I'm surprised that he was in this match at all. As much as I may, have a lot of disdain for William Black as a person, I've really enjoyed his tag team work with Austin Wolf as the Sons of Fenrir. I thought they were just incredible to watch. And I'm shocked that they have decided to kind of stray from that path and instead, William Black's trying to chase singles gold here. I don't know if that's really a decision I can get behind, but obviously it was successful.
I mean, he's been hunting a world title for, like I said, since season 2. But because of the season and a half or so that he's had, it's constantly eluded him. Now, he has completed the Triple Crown, and he has essentially punched his ticket to Endgame. I think maybe he saw this opportunity before him for this qualifier, and he thought, okay, I could try and get a tag title match at Endgame, or I could go into singles, win the world title, and guarantee my spot. And he did just that. He guaranteed his spot.
Yeah, I mean, that is, you can't fault the man's work ethic, although he did enter last in the chamber, he certainly went all out when it came to actually fighting. He was the one who eliminated Harris with that devastating blackout. I mean, he just spiked him right on his face.
And then eliminated the champion, Pistolero. Both chamber matches, whoever was the one to eliminate the champion was the winner. In this case, it came down to him and Pistolero as the final two, and he finally put him away.
The big thing for me is, Pistolero actually exited his pod. He was the 4th person in the match, just as Valencia was the 4th person in the match in her respective chamber match. And I was kind of like, ooh, is there going to be a little bit of magic number situation going on here? Maybe Pistolero is going to take it all the way. And that's when I thought, when it was just him and William Black, especially after he nailed him with that jackhammer, which I am learning now. He's been working on that, cooking that up in a while in the lab, as we were talking about before. And it looks like he's going to be adding that to his arsenal kind of full time.
Yeah, I mean, he's used it here and there, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him use it more often. But yeah, William Black, first world championship of his career, now around his waist. But the big question is, who's going to be the one to challenge him at Endgame for that title? There is a myriad of possible challengers that I'm sure would love a shot. Maybe he goes again against Lucas Button. Maybe big man on campus Jasper Starr gets another shot. Maybe Michael Young gets another shot. Maybe Harris challenges for the world title once more at Endgame. There's a lot of good talent.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, Lucas Button and Jasper Starr, those have got to be dream matches for a lot of fans. Seeing that happen on the grandest stage of them all. I think when you go into kind of any chat rooms that are discussing CWL, you're gonna find a lot of people saying, Lucas Button, Jasper Starr, those are the names we want to see in the main event of Endgame. I think everyone's saying that. So that could very well be what happens.
Well, that and some guy I keep hearing about named like I think his name's like Blade Molman or something.
Blake Coleman.
Yeah, him.
Oh
I
God, I
keep
love
hearing
Blake Coleman.
he's yeah, I saw him at the Rumble. He's like a Genesis guy, right?
Oh, he's more than a Genesis guy. He's straight from hell, baby.
Huh.
We'll get into that later.
Interesting.
The point is, William Black ends this show as your new Vindication Heavyweight Champion, and now we're gonna launch straight into Sophie. What have you got for us? You're bringing us the scoop. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so as I mentioned at the beginning, this was first this was a if fans of CWL remember, at the start of the season, they were running these videos announcing essentially the top 50 superstars of season 3. Now, for whatever reason, there's not been an official statement from the company. Uh, these videos just stopped right before the final 5. Now, on my exile from this podcast, I was doing some poking around and I met up with a contact of mine. His name is Orion Alcatraz, and he was able to get me the top 5 CWL superstars of season 3.
Wow. Well, let's hear him.
And
Don't keep me in
yeah,
suspense
and
any
I've
longer.
been given exclusive rights to announce them on this podcast. So, starting off at number 5, we have from Vindication, Ace Anderson, former
Wow.
member of the Order, Vindication World Champion, defended it 3 times, and just what else is there to say? Just a fantastic, fantastic competitor who, I've got to say, someone who we don't see at all this season. There's rumors he could be coming back earlier in the season. Those rumors were proven false. But yeah, coming in at number 5 with pretty good spot. Number 4, another name who we saw a little bit of this season, but didn't really see too much of. Ryan Quinn.
Whoa. Ryan Quinn, big name. I believe he has officially retired from CWL, although he has shown up on the commentary desk for Jailbreak on the pre-show.
Yeah, he's still an NIEW, from what I understand, over in Canada, doing what he do. But yeah, no longer with the company for CWL, but placed number 4. Maybe the fact that the 2 of these guys aren't with the company anymore. Maybe that's why they didn't release it.
Perhaps.
Maybe. Number 3, someone who is still very much with the company. We talked about him earlier tonight. The winner of Endgame 3's main event, Harris.
When you started that intro, I gotta say, I totally thought it was gonna be a Lucas Button, but Harris, that is also a big name.
He was not even in the company.
I know you can't. I got Lucas Button fever. What are you gonna do? I got excited. What can you say? I know it's not rational. I know it's not reasonable, but I can't help myself. God damn it. But Harris, I mean, he's a big deal too. He's huge, of course. Won that Vindication Heavyweight Championship, brought it into season 4. Absolute legend. Love to see Harris on that list.
Yeah, and was actually predicted in the X Factor ratings to have placed number 2 in the season. Placed a little bit under that at number 3, but still 3rd place out of the 150 people in CWL is like crazy. In 2nd place, the silver medal. The Nemesis Women's Champion at the end of the season, Holly Queen, who had 2 Nemesis Women's title reigns, an openweight title reign, 1 Gold in the Bank, beat Kel Valen, did everything there, essentially almost everything there was to do last season, and came out of it as the 2nd best in the company.
You cannot keep gold from being around the waist of Holly Queen, no matter how much you may like to. So, well earned. Whenever she gets in that ring, it's gonna be something to watch, and it certainly was. I believe in her most recent appearance, which was of course at Supremacy when she dominated Marilyn Benson, and that could very well be the case upcoming at Endgame when she's going to be challenging Sheila for that openweight championship. But at the number 2 spot, well deserved. We always see incredible things from Holly Queen.
But they aren't number 1.
Who is number 1?
Number 1 is someone who many people consider to be the greatest YouTube champion of all time. was world champion going into Endgame and currently has a match set against Tommy Hazard. Chris Princess was CWL's #1 superstar of season 3.
Wow. Let me tell you. Wow. Look,
Yeah.
Chris Princess, there's nothing more to say about him. Or, I mean, well, there's a ton to say about him, but the easiest way to sum it up is that he's a goddamn legend. The man's a bastard. The man's a conniving scum of the earth, but he is a genius. He's an innovator. And quite frankly, I will pay good money to see him anytime he's going to wrestle anywhere. And you bet your ass I'm going to be going all the way to Mexico to get a front row seat at Endgame when he and Tommy Hazard go at it. You're going to be able to see me. I'm show up on some of the shows sometime. I'm the guy in the light blue shirt in the front row.
Yeah, I'm the one in the red.
Oh wow, that makes
shows.
sense because we sit next to each other. So yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
We've got a little coordinated like stand and then wave gimmick that we do.
I like
It's
to kind
awesome.
of, I like to kind of just do like the one hand and kind of like I like to keep the elbow rigid and just kind of like I'm karate chopping something off to the side. That's how I like to wave it. Yeah.
But that's the top 5 for season 3. However, I've got a little bit of a little extra thing here that I did not share with you prior to the podcast today.
Ooh.
And it's that, again, thanks to my work with Orion Alcatraz of the Wrestling Watcher newsletter, I have managed to secure our podcast exclusive rights for the announcement of next season 4's top 50 power rankings. That's right. Exclusively here on the CWL Fancast, starting in season 5, we will be discussing the top 50 CWL wrestlers of season 4.
Wow.
And I'm very excited to talked about with you, with Marcus, with that one other guy you brought on the podcast when you tried to get rid of me.
In my defense, it was just very convenient at the time because Charles and I were just like right there and there was a microphone and we were kind of like, let's just bang out an episode of the podcast. I wasn't intentionally trying to kick you off the podcast. And in fact, I'm quite glad that you're back. It's a pleasure to have you every single time, Sophie. You're a wonderfully intelligent and incredibly charismatic co-host. Have I boosted your ego enough?
Yeah, well, before we go, I just wanted to sort of ask, given what we saw here tonight, I mean, Jailbreak was a massive, maybe one of the biggest events of the year, especially going to Endgame.
Tremendous.
What is your prediction for the #1 superstar of season 4? Because I feel like, in comparison to previous seasons, there's always been one person who stuck out. I mean, everyone knew in season 2 Cal was going to be #1. In season 1, everyone knew it was going to be Starfield. Last season, it was a toss-up sort of between Harley Quinn or Chris Princess, but I feel this season, it's almost impossible to tell who's going to be #1.
I feel the same way, and if I have to pick, if I have to land on somebody, it's going to be a toss-up for me between MD and Pistolero.
Those are 2 good picks. Wow.
Although, if I have to submit a third, I think it might be Harley Quinn's year to get into that #1 spot.
Maybe. She did spend a lot of the season, though, sort of on the sidelines between Gold in the Bank and Battle Lines, but anything can happen. If I had to pick, I mean, I don't know it yet, okay? I mean, we haven't met, me and Orion Alcatraz have not yet met to go over it as the season is not yet done, but I mean, I've got to go with my personal favorite, Rodrigo. Or...
You like Rodrigo? I mean, aside from the physical attractiveness aspect.
I mean, do you need anything else?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. Or maybe a bit of a wild card pick, TJ Black.
Oh, shit! You're so right! Oh my god! Oh.
TJ, who I feel like we should quickly mention on this podcast, might be going to Vindication next year with the Twitch title and leaving Nemesis without the Twitch title, which we did not mention at all. But I feel like it's fairly big news.
Well, I have
that fairly big.
I have a little bit.
That fairly big news is a perfect time to stop the podcast.
I will leave a little breadcrumb. I'm going to leave a little breadcrumb at the end here. That is true. TJ Black is going to try to jump to Vindication with the Twitch Championship, but I've heard a rumor. And I don't have any names yet, but I've heard a rumor that someone is looking to do the opposite and jump to Nemesis with the YouTube title. I don't know who. I haven't heard any names, but I've heard some rumblings, and that's what I'm going to leave you with.
You've been talking to Seltzer or something?
I've been
Come on,
talking to
dude.
Seltzer. That's right. I've been talking to
gotta
Grave
give me these
Seltzer.
scoop. I mean, listen, I've got Alcatraz here. I didn't know you had. Okay, we're gonna have to discuss this after the podcast here, but thank you all for watching the CWL Fancast. I have been Sophie. He has been Jacob, and this has been our coverage of Jailbreak. This has been the top 5 superstars of season 3, and we will see you all next time, whenever that may be.
We will indeed.
I may never be back.
You will be
if
back.
he gets his way.
If I get okay, whatever. We'll talk about this when we're off the air. All right, kisses everyone. Good night. Mwah.